Hi, my name is Pastor Hal York, and welcome to Truth in the Trenches. Today we're going to be in Proverbs chapter 24, verse 6. Before I read that, I'd like to read a couple of verses that lead into that. Proverbs 21:22 says, "A wise man scales the city of the mighty and brings down the stronghold in which they trust." Ecclesiastes 9:16-18 says, "But I say that wisdom is better than might, though the poor man's wisdom is despised and his words are not heard. The words of the wise heard in quiet are better than the shoutings of a ruler among fools." Wisdom is better than weapons of war. And I think our verse today drives that point home. "For by wise guidance you can wage your war, and in abundance of counselors there is victory." Verse 5, I think, says the same thing. "A wise man is strong, and a man of knowledge increases power." What do these verses teach us? Well, Derek Kidner, in his little book on Proverbs, has three words that he thinks sums up the point of these verses. The strategy is strength. Wise guidance. What does that mean? It means an abundance of counselors. Wage your war means there is victory. And we're in a war, we know. Waging our war. The Christian life is a battle, Ephesians 6 talks about it. It's a battle between the flesh and the spirit, Galatians 5. It's a battle for the marriage, for family. Raising our children is a battle for personal integrity, a battle for sexual purity. And these are just some of the battles and wars that we all face as believers. In those battles, we are wise if we know we should not go it alone. That's what Proverbs teaches us over and over again, that we need guidance, instruction, advice, input, strategy. Why? Because we don't know everything. We don't know it all. We don't know everything. Knowing we need these things is a sign of maturity. It's also a sign of humility and a sign of wisdom. To understand this principle is to understand one of the roles, the key roles of the church in your life, that we're not to go it alone. Winning these battles means we're going to have a strategy. We need counsel, people around us, a multitude of people around us who can help us and counsel us. Well, who are these counselors he talks about? Well, I think they are those who are mature in their walk, those who have some experience in the area that we need guidance in, people who have experienced victory in these areas of their lives. If you're having marriage problems, don't get your single friends together to ask them how to fix your marriage or how to have a good marriage. They may all have opinions, but they have no experience. They've never been in that battle. It is important, if we are serious about growing in our lives in these various areas, that we do not just surround ourselves with yes men, people who would just tell us what we want to hear. In the multitude of counselors, if they are mature, they know Scripture, there will be a consensus for the most part on the counsel they give you. Just as an example, it's kind of a silly example, but if you buy a canoe and are wondering if you should always wear your life jacket when you're in the canoe, if you ask 10 experienced canoeists, you will get a consensus of yes. There may be one who says, well, they got their oar caught in a life jacket once and tipped the canoe trying to get it untangled, so they don't wear a life jacket anymore. But many experienced people who own a canoe will concur it's always wise to wear a life jacket. In marriage and parenting and spiritual life, find people, mature believers, couples who have good marriages, who know Scripture. They're not perfect. Find people who have well-mannered kids. They're not going to be perfect kids. But ask them questions. Listen. Take notes and then compare notes from different conversations, and you will no doubt find some areas where there's a common theme. Bad marriages can be bad for a lot of different reasons. But strong marriages, strong families, Christians who live their lives with integrity and in victory will all have common characteristics and strategies and goals and priorities. That's why it's important to have an abundance of counselors. That same principle is true for you as you grow spiritually. Find people who demonstrate spiritual depth and growth and fruit in their life and talk to them. In the multitude of wise counselors, you will get a consensus. You will get information and truth that will help you plan a strategy and give you strength in your life and in your family. It is sad that so often we seek out counsel from those who have failed rather than those who have success in their families and marriages and their spiritual lives. Sadly, today we are more inclined to listen to someone who's had 3 bad marriages than we are someone who's been happily married to the same person for 45 years. A multitude of wise, experienced biblical counselors will give you wise guidance to wage your war, to give you victory in your life. But remember this, always begin with your wonderful counselor, Jesus Christ. Study his word. His Spirit lives within you, and he will give you the strength that you need. Surround yourself with good role models. Don't be afraid to take someone out for coffee or a couple and ask them questions. Maybe you're newly married or a young person, single, just getting started in your career, graduated from college. Surround yourself with wise, godly people who will help you and guide you and build into your life as you wage your war for integrity, for spiritual growth, for a godly home. Remember that strategy is strength. Wisdom is strength. May this truth guide us and guard us in the trenches of life as we seek to live for the glory of God and the good of others. God bless.